Hold him. Now you listen to me, you hillbilly punk who thinks the world's still round. I'm here to tell you it's not. It's flat!
He's an interesting guy, man, and, you know, he believes it, so. Kyrie, the earth is flat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, whatever.
The earth is flat. That's news.
That's news. Here we go.
You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
Your protection from deception. This is Truth Frequency Radio.
Broadcasting straight to you from a large spaceship currently at war with the mainstream scientific community. Meanwhile, the Peanut Gallery is hovering over Vandenberg Air Force Base, awaiting the latest lunch from Elon Musk. Elon is busy doing more final checks for their Falcon 9 rocket launch with an upgraded nose cone and broadband satellites inside. Funny how they didn't need this many checks on the Tesla Roadster CGI project. That launch supposedly is tomorrow, by the way, in case you guys care. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Strange World, where the truth is often stranger than fiction. I'm your host, Mark Sargent, the creator of Flat Earth Clues, which propose that all of us are living inside a Truman Show enclosed structure thousands of miles wide. Check it out at enclosedworld.com or just Google Flat Earth Clues. If you can't find it, well, then you're not very good at the internet. For those of you listening to this on YouTube and you want to hear the show live, as it happens, please go to Truth Frequency Radio for the latest schedule. Currently, the show is on Tuesday nights at 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. And if it is not February 20th, 2018, well, then you're listening to a rerun. So, which means you're probably listening to it on YouTube. Quote of the day: God grant me the courage not to give up what I think is right, even though I think it is hopeless. Who said that? Chester Nimitz. I do believe there's an aircraft carrier named after him. We try to keep our quotes as pertinent as possible to the subject matter at hand. And yes, tonight is a subject matter expert night. And we will be taking calls probably in the second hour, but we'll get to that in 1 second. Quick announcements. The meetup in Colorado Springs. Looks like I'm attending. I've already got my plane tickets. It's going to be March 4th down there. I believe Bob from Globebusters is going to be doing a simulcast down there as well, which would be kind of fun. A brand new meetup. I just put the trailer out for that last night. I think it's the first one of its kind in Brooklyn, New York. Go figure. So have fun. All you people who are out in New York are going, there's no meetups out here. Well, now there is. There's one going to be in Brooklyn. So have fun. All the details. All you have to do is you can either go to my channel or type in Flat Earth Meetup New York, and you'll find it. So have fun with that. Challenges. Well, there's one that I know. It's the Mark Sargent Flat Earth Challenge. This is my personal declaration of war from Flat Earth against mainstream science. I, Mark Sargent, hereby put forth a challenge to any university, foreign or domestic, to debate or discuss the Flat Earth reality. The short version is this: you fly me in, take care of my hotel, and I'll face down any scientific body you put against me. My only debate requirement is that you have someone with a master's degree in a physical science either participating in or supervising the event. Accept this challenge and you will be treated with respect. If not, then you're just cowards behind... Wow, screwed up the last part of it. Cowards hiding behind empty equations. This is live. I don't get retakes. Sorry. This isn't like the Clues where I can say the same paragraph over and over until I get it right. Subject matter experts we have had so far. Let's rattle them off, shall we? United States Navy missile instructor, United States Air Force navigator, United States Marine Corps sniper instructor, a submarine chief, a artillery radar operator, Australian intelligence officer, American flight instructor, industrial engineer specializing in valves and seals, a career surveyor of 32 years, an international shipping expert, a corporate travel agent, an air traffic controller, a United States Army master gunner, an aviation and ground training combat expert, a USDA surveyor of 27 years, a 32nd degree Mason, an etheric science researcher, a commercial airline captain, a commercial airline co-pilot, an industrial vacuum expert, a merchant marine, an Army air traffic controller. That was last week. And this week we're going to do a United States Navy navigator. And before we do that, real quick, let's give out the phone. Well, I'm not going to give out the phone numbers yet, but I am going to read a quick email that this fine man sent me. I'll just read the first part, just to give you a little background. The title is called Retired Navy Chief, QMC, Navigation. Hey, Mark, I've heard a few military guys on your show talking about flat Earth. One Air Force navigator and a sub guy. I am a retired QMC from 1981 to 2001, 20 years, which is the navigation specialty. I have sailed the following: Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean Sea, Atlantic, North Atlantic, Mediterranean, Adriatic, Suez, Red, Indian, Persian, Pacific, etc. 43 different ports of call, 5 different surface ships. I spent 75% of my sea time on the bridges of aforesaid ships. I don't think I've ever used the word aforesaid, but we're going to go with it. Ships observing horizons, lighthouses, ships, aircraft, meteor showers, lunar eclipses, etc. I used to say etc., and then people corrected me for that. Thank you guys for all the wonderful grammar and spelling lessons that I've had over the years. For many thousands of hours, I have done celestial, radar, visual, and other electronic navigation techniques. So it is my pleasure to introduce, and we're not, you guys don't even get to talk to him for the first hour. It's just him and me. John, oh boy, I didn't even ask you if McGlone?
Yes, sir. You got it right.
Cool. MC capital GLONE.
That's
I
right.
would imagine you come from Irish descent?
Yes, my people are Irish, and I have some Cherokee in there too.
Oh, nice. All right. So, how are you, my man?
I'm doing great. I really appreciate you having me on your show. It's quite a privilege, actually, considering all your background in these things.
No, I'm happy to have you, and your timing was perfect. It was great because you contacted me before you even knew that I was going to have the Army air traffic guy on. It's like things come in waves. For like the first half of my list, that list that I read, those guys all came in the first, I think, 8 months of my program. And then I had a stretch for like 6 or 7 months. I really didn't talk to anybody. And then all of a sudden, more and more people. So let's get to it. So you officially, you got in 81 in the United States Navy. And you specialize in navigation. Now, I did not know this because technically QMC stands for Quartermaster. What's the C stand for? Chief. Okay, Quartermaster Chief. That's Quartermaster Chief in the Navy is much different than a Quartermaster in the Army.
That's
Quartermaster in the Army, they hand out towels and
supply,
stuff.
right?
Yeah, supplies. Yep. They don't even hand out ordnance, I don't think, in the Army. Do they? The quartermasters?
Well, I wasn't in the Army, so I couldn't tell you for sure.
Well, no,
I thought they were in supply. So
So I'm pretty sure like ordinances, but in your case, you got to be involved in all things that were navigation and had a lot of fun with it, and that was really that's what you stayed in your entire career.
Well, I have to back up a second and give a little correction, a little errata to that, because my first 4 years I was a seaman and a bosun's mate.
Oh, okay.
So I changed ratings to quartermaster there after my 4th year when I re-enlisted. So
oh, cool.
It wasn't 21 years, 16 years. total navigation experience. But
cool.
I was on the bridge, driving the helm and that kind of stuff on lookouts for those first 4 years as well. And boy, it's flat out there.
Okay, before we get into the flat thing, I got to mention, because the Peanut Gallery sends me messages all through my monologue, and I can't talk and read his stuff at the same time because he tries to throw me curveballs. And he kept wanting me to use, instead of my normal theme for this, he wanted me to use, and I'm sure you've heard this many times, the Village People in the Navy. And it's like, yeah, I guess, since it's really the only pop song that ever had any Navy thing in it, I just don't think it wasn't me. Don't get me wrong.
Hates that song.
Yeah, I can imagine.
The guys in the Navy hate that song.
I can imagine. There's people that play it all the time for jokes and things get broken.
Yep.
Like little stereos get thrown in the drink. It's like, why'd you throw my stereo overboard? It's like, you know why. You don't even have to ask.
Yeah, there's often intra-service rivalries between the Navy and the Marine Corps, especially because the Marine Corps is a part of the Department of the Navy. They're an arm of the Navy, and so we'll kid them about that, and they'll come back, well, we're the men's department, and we'll have a little chuckle, right?
I had fun when I had the missile instructor and the submarine guy talking to each other in the same show. I don't know if you heard that one, and I always thought it was fun because the submarines call the surface ships the target fleet. That's good.
The submarine guys are bubbleheads, kind of like the NASA astronauts.
Nice. So let's kind of segue into why did you reach out to me? How did you reach out to me, and how long have you been on this journey? And again, super glad to have you talking about this.
Thank you so much, Mark. Yep. So I really appreciate that, and it's been a couple years. Mm-hmm. And I first heard a teaching by a man named Charlie Kennan from Mississippi, a pastor, and he's actually a medical doctor. And he, in this one teaching, proved geocentricity from the Bible. Okay. Now, he is not a flat earther by any means. He rejects it, sneers at it, etc. But I was very thankful for that teaching, that I came to that realization after a few months of study with that. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, that if that's not true, then what else isn't true? Because that's a biggie. Right. And then that led me to examine flat Earth for about a year. I was, really in denial. I go, well, I know what I see. And but then I came across Brian Mullen's video.
Oh, right.
And that video, I can't remember which episode it was, but the Balls Out video series.
Yeah, Balls Out Physics. Yeah.
And he had that curvature formula. And man, I tell you what, there's just no getting around that.
No.
That's got to be true or it's not true.
Right.
And I was looking at that, studying that, and finally I had to at least admit to myself that I was going to believe in this completely inane idea that completely went against everything that I understood and knew about the world that I'd sailed.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm so impressed. Yeah, and it would take you. You said it took you quite a while. It does not surprise me at all, because people that I talked to initially, I got to back up for a sec. Initially, I said that the people that were going to be super resistant to this would be astrophysicists and astronomers, for obvious reasons. It's like their whole career and lives is based on space. But then I find out that like amateur astronomers, they have a really hard time with it. But the other group that I was surprised me were people that spend a lot of their lives at sea in boats. And mostly it's because of the whole boat going over the horizon reinforcement. Right. You see that enough times, and that's gospel. It's like, yep, there goes the boat over the horizon. Must be a curve. And my cousin, who was anyway, she's retired now, was a career yachts person. I'd say yachtsman, but I think that might be sexist now. I don't know. Me too. That whole transfer. Anyway,
sounds like a great job.
Yeah. So she was a career yachtsman, and in fact, she specialized actually in the galley. She cooked. She cooked gourmet meals, but she also did the stuff up top. She learned, all the stuff up top. Right. And she was like, she still will not. She's just dug in her heels and said that nope, I've seen it. She goes, I've seen the boats with the horizon. There's a freaking curvature. Again, because she wants to see it, the whole George Orwell thing, which is like, you think you see, it's like all you have to do is hear it once. It's like, oh yeah, you don't see the boat anymore because it's gone over the curvature. It's not that it shrunk into this tiny little dot. So yeah, I'm impressed that you that it took, well, I mean, a year though. That's even longer than me. It took me 9 months.
Well, it's not just ships going over the horizon. It's land masses, it's lighthouses, towers, buildings that they're disappearing. And something that really helped me after I kind of understood the curvature formula and how it's just so defeating to the whole idea, is the X and Y. If you take like an X and Y axis in your axes in your mind and lay it down on what you're looking at, and the Y is, let's just say the Y is running along the horizon, or excuse me, the X is running along the horizon, the Y is a bearing from you directly perpendicular to that horizon that you're viewing. Well, as the ship travels over the horizon, this is a thing you can lay on your sister. As the ship travels over the horizon, you should be able to look along that horizon and see that same curve, but you don't.
Right.
That just puts things in 3 dimensions, because you can look to the left and look to the right a long way.
Right.
And just looking to the horizon as it comes up to your eye, you see that ship disappear. And then the videos, of course, that are all out there that, a guy puts a zoom lens on the same ship that just disappeared.
Right.
And there it is right there, the hull up. We would call it hull down when the ship is disappearing, but you magnify it with the proper optic. Yeah. And now you can see it perfectly clear.
Yeah.
And so what's causing it? What is the issue that's going on to make it disappear? Even if you have a good telescope or binoculars, it still disappears. Why?
Right. Yeah. And now, of course, it's easier to explain to people. I know that most people live on cell phones, but I love large monitors, and anyone that's ever worked in a development setting, or you're doing anything with graphics, it's like, look, you back up from an object fast enough and clear, straight enough from on a computer, and eventually just shrinks down to the single size of a pixel. And then when it's too far, that pixel just blinks away. Right. And that's what we're talking about. I know there's some optics. Look, let me ask you this real quick, which is, you probably heard some of the other people that were talking on various shows that I did. Were there any times where you were looking long distance and you were kind of puzzled at seeing things at a great distance with any of your optics?
Absolutely. We wouldn't think about that. I don't know why we wouldn't think about that, because I guess it's just it's just a given. It's just a presupposition that you're making when you're out there.
Right.
We would have they're called big eyes, and they're huge optical things that we could see very, very long distances with. And we could see lighthouses at 55 miles and that kind of thing. Yeah. And you don't, I don't know why you don't put it together. I guess because we all just assume it's round, and right. Somehow through refraction we can see it or something like that, but never really thought about it before, during all that whole experience. So,
how many people even know? I mean, I'd guess that 99% of the people on the street, probably even more, 99.9% do not know the curvature of the Earth formula. Hell, I had to learn it. Anybody in the flat Earth community had to learn the curvature formula. So
I did too.
Yeah, if that formula isn't in your head, whatever you see is what you see. Yeah, like you said, it's a given. It's like, oh yeah, because I know the big optics you're talking about, those giant binoculars.
Right.
They're massive. They're bolted onto things, and they're kind of like the ones you see. They're only better versions of the ones you have to put a quarter in on top of buildings. Back in the day.
They're a much better version, but they are similar to that. You're right.
Yeah, yeah, and you're seeing things at these distances. And you're going, oh, I can see it. It doesn't cross your mind that you shouldn't be able to see it. You just say, oh, well, there it is. And you don't do the distance. It's like, oh, that thing could be 30, 40 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's right.
Amazing.
Yeah, it really is amazing that you can operate in that kind of mindset and not put the two and two together. And it's such a challenge to overcome those views that you have in your mind. And the Bible says we're all like sheep, we're led astray easily. So visually, we have visual weakness, and so perception. I mean, that's perspective and perception. That's where it comes in. You were mentioning the computer going down to a pixel, and that's just the vanishing point.
Yeah.
Anywhere you look on this in this realm that we exist in, it comes to vanishing point, and that's just the way it is with optics. And when you view things, the way God designed us to view things three-dimensionally.
Exactly. And the atmosphere, look, the design of this place is extremely clever. To where, because people, one of the interesting arguments people say, well, why can't you see Japan from San Francisco?
Mm-hmm.
And I throw at them, I say, well, because what you're breathing in it looks invisible, but it's just invisible to, close range. I go, you go out to a certain distance and you're looking through soup, because, water is H2, 2 parts hydrogen to 1 part oxygen. And we're breathing in 4 parts nitrogen to 1 part oxygen. So you're looking through a soup. And so, with my argument, you probably heard me say this. It's like, look, you pull that atmosphere off, you turn that into a vacuum. If you had the right optics, I think you probably could see that far. If you had a big enough telescope. The only thing that's stopping you, you guys can look this up, long distance photography, world record photography, long distance photography on the internet. I think the world record is 200 plus miles, give or take, before, and that's pretty high altitude. That's when it's getting pretty thin. That's like peak to peak type stuff.
Right. Well, other things that people may not be accounting for is out there on the ocean, you might have 5 feet to 20-foot, 40-foot waves going. There's storms. There's rain fronts that are coming through, not to mention just the humidity that you were kind of talking about there a moment ago.
Right.
There's things that are going on in that atmosphere. Yeah, sure, it's clear for 4, 5, 10 miles, no problem. But you start getting past that, even if you could see it, you're going to have all this interference with your optical perception.
Yeah.
So.
The Navy guy also told me that he goes sometimes at night, and he said he couldn't really go into it too much because it's kind of classified, and if you can't, that's fine. He said that infrared, using you could use some long distance infrared stuff, and he's going, look, we could see ships with infrared at 30 plus miles. And he goes, look, infrared doesn't lie. A mirage will never show up on infrared. And did you ever get the opportunity, or is that sort of, you went to bed usually at night?
No, we had watches 24/7, brother.
Oh, okay.
No, I wouldn't really talk about that. That's I'm not going to say it's classified. So it's just not something I really did that much.
Oh, okay.
We just didn't use that kind of gear very much. We did have it once in a while, but not very much. And
if you had to take
experience with it,
if you had to take a guess, let's say, and I just ballpark it for me, how far were you ever coming up on a landmass or a lighthouse that you were, somebody said in the maps, like, how far out is that thing? And somebody said, that's 50 miles. Anything ever surprise you as far as the distance that really caught your eye? It's like, holy smokes, we can see that. We can see a landmass and we're not going to get there for hours.
I don't know. I just can't say I can recall something like that. Again, we're not operating in those kind of suppositions. We would calculate based on the height of our bridge and the height of a lighthouse when we thought we should see it. And we did regularly see things before that calculation, but I can't say something that really wowed me or, and it would be the lookouts looking for it, not really me very often, because we would just be kind of ramping up the navigation details and so very busy getting ready to come into port. So
got it. Hey, we've got 3 minutes to the break. I want to ask you, because you mentioned from a spiritual standpoint, had you spent any time on any of the Flat Earth Christian sites like Zen Garcia or Rob Skiba or Robbie Davidson or any of those guys?
Well, I have watched quite a few of Rob Skiba's videos, and I did one of, I can't remember which Flat Earth conference it was. Maybe it was in Amsterdam.
When he was when he was over there, yeah.
Yeah, and he mentioned April 15th, I think, 2015, where you had him on your show, and I said, oh, that's interesting. And so I've been watching Rob's stuff for a while, and like I said, I just recently stumbled across your interviews with the guys that were involved in the military, which is what prompted my email. So, yeah, but other than that, no, not really. I've been getting on some of the Facebook groups, and just really trying to there's like layer after layer of this kind of onion idea. And as a Christian, my worldview is that God's word is true. I don't care what you're saying. Right. Yes, I know you have all this science, but the same scientists that tell us the Earth is a globe and we live in a heliocentric solar system are the same guys that say we came from the goo to the zoo to you, and the same guys that tell us a Big Bang made all this. Right. And it's just ridiculous, and I don't believe them. Yeah, and they're just hirelings, and they're just have a worldly philosophy that's leading most people to hell. And I tell you what, false teachers are condemned in the Bible. 2 Peter 2, the whole chapter, very condemnatory towards false teaching and false teachers. Oh, yeah. And most people think of that just in light of Christian false teachers. Yeah. But there's false teachers that are professors, parents, all kinds of false teachers out there. So, we as human beings under the mighty hand of a holy God who created all this intense, marvelous creation we're looking at, we got to walk carefully.
I agree. Absolutely agree. In fact, Rob, it was kind of a symbiotic relationship with Rob and I, where he got me. I ruined his life April of 2015, and he loves to throw that slide up there, which is great. I thought initially that he had thrown that slide up there just for the conference we had down in Raleigh, but that wasn't true. He shows that slide everywhere. But at the same time, because of him, I learned more chapter and verse regarding this, because he's got that great website, testingtheglobe.com, where he goes through just about everything you can think of. He goes, look, it's a flat earth Bible. He goes, you can say what you want about Isaiah 40:22. He goes, but it's a flat earth Bible. And so it's been interesting for me because, flat earth brought me back into spirituality when I fell away from it. When I got to, we got 15 seconds, but I'll get this point across real quick, which is when I went to college, it's like, wait, there's other religions, there's other things to learn. And then for years and years, I really didn't get much into it. And then flat earth reminded me, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, God built this.
Amen.
So anyway, we're going to go to our first break. And when we come back, we're going to keep talking with the United States Navy quartermaster about flat earth. So 3 minutes. Hang tough, guys.
You're listening to the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
Welcome back to Strange World, Part 2 of 4. It is Subject Matter Expert Night. And we have United States Navy Navigator John McGlone.
Hey.
Hey. So a couple quick questions I thought of during the break as I was just rattling around some of the info. One is, what was, out of all the oceans you were on, what was your favorite?
Probably the Caribbean. It's very beautiful, pretty blue, very salty though.
Oh,
Caribbean
nice.
Sea is very very beautiful place. Bermuda, down Haiti,
St. Thomas, St. John,
St. Thomas, St. John, right?
Yeah.
All those saint islands. Wonder why they're called saints.
I can.
Why?
I probably there was some religious influence there. Probably
sure.
But yeah, it's funny because I was down in St. Thomas years ago, and I remember some of the Navy ships pulling in, some of the bigger ships. I don't remember some of the smaller ships.
Ooh, I got deathly ill there in St. Thomas.
Did you?
Like for a week. Well, I was still drinking then, and I was very much a drunkard. So
a sailor who drinks.
Yeah, imagine that, and cursed. But a pina colada is a horrible story. One pina colada, they had warned us before we went into port that, hey, don't drink the water here. And I drank the pina colada. I asked for a glass of water because it was too sweet, and I chugged it down. Like, oh, I'm not supposed to drink this. And I was sick for a week.
Now, that is really interesting because...
It was horrifying, not interesting.
Well, no, because when I was down there, and I'm going to blame my grandparents for this because they were trying to broaden me. We what year? We probably were down there. Do you remember what year that was?
That would have been like 84, I think.
Holy smokes. I was down there in 82. But they never told me that we couldn't drink the water.
Right.
It didn't even occur to me. The Peanut Gallery says most Caribbean islands were colonies of either the British or Spanish or both. Some were also colonies of French, Dutch, or Portuguese. The main influence were the British and the Spanish. That is why they have a lot of saint names. Huh.
Makes sense.
You know,
the Spanish would have probably brought in the Roman Catholic Church, and
there you go.
Brits would have brought the Anglican in. So
yep. One of my favorites, well, it's a little bit off, was Barbados. And what I thought was interesting about Barbados was, because again, these people, when you come from America, you notice a few things that the native population didn't. And when I was in Barbados, everybody there spoke with a thick Irish accent. And it's like, well, and I find out that Barbados had a lot of Irish colonization, but they didn't know. It's like, well, I'm not going to do an Irish accent, but it's like, what do you mean we talk Irish? And I go, you do. You guys have a really thick Irish accent. You guys know. It's like, no, how do we know this? It's like, you know what? You're absolutely right. How would you know this? How many people from Ireland actually go to Barbados? Probably not.
Okay, so here's a really good couple verses while we were on the break that I looked up.
Okay.
And you've probably heard these already, but in Isaiah, 40:22, it's he that sits upon the circle of the earth, inhabits thereof are like grasshoppers, that stretches out the heavens as a curtain, and spreads them out as a tent to dwell in. Well, so that circle of the earth is one Hebrew word, but there in the same book in Isaiah 22:18, talking to Israel, in rebellion against him, he said, he will surely violently turn and toss thee like a ball.
Right.
Into a large country. So I really thought that was interesting when I found that through one of the flat earthers mentioning it on one of the boards somewhere. Wow. Man, that's great.
Rob went off on that. In fact, that is the only, I challenge anybody to everybody brings up that verse. I mean, it's committed to my memory just because everybody that tries to say, okay, the Bible is a spherical earth Bible, they come at me, because of that. They go, 40:22, and Rob Skiba was the first one, and just about everybody in the flat earth community who's a Christian will say, no, it's a completely different word. Circle and ball are different words. There's which is why we correct people whenever they say, well, you're stupid, you don't think it's round. It's like, look, a dinner plate's round, a hubcap is round, my dining room table is round. You can only use ball, sphere, or globe. And you're absolutely right. No, when the Bible is a flat earth Bible, no question. I mean, how many different? I don't want to go off on a tear here, but like the earth is fixed and stationary. There's so many references to that. The firmament, Genesis. For God's sakes, it's the first chapter of Genesis. The firmament which separates the waters above and the waters below. But the one that did it for me was Werner von Braun's headstone. Do you know that one?
I saw that picture and I don't remember.
Okay, yeah. So I'm looking through, all the crap, and because Werner von Braun, he's one of the architects of this whole thing. And I don't mean like the architect. I mean just architect of NASA. And his headstone, I was really surprised that it wasn't this huge, this big bust of him, bigger than life concrete, with a rocket in one hand and in the other hand pointing to the sky. No, it just said the year he was born, the year he died, and then it says Psalms 19:1. And I was like, I have no idea what Psalms 19:1 is. You look it up, and it says, and the firmament shows his handiwork.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really interesting. It's like, why would quite literally, the father of rocket science, why would he be talking about a domed structure? And I know you're not sold on the whole dome thing yet, and I get that. But why would he be talking about a dome structure that covers the Earth? Why would he be quoting any Bible verses at all? He's literally a rocket scientist. You don't hear Neil deGrasse Tyson going off on using verses, nor do I think Carl Sagan did. I think he did either. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about. I'm sorry, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to address the enclosed dome thing.
Yeah.
Because I've been finding things the last few days. It's really interesting. Tesla had a great drawing, what he envisioned the dome to be like, and how the firmament's acting like an engine of sorts, where the sun and the moon are going around and generating electricity, and the North Polar axial area that's full of magnetism. We already know this. Yeah. There's lots of ore there, magnetic ore, in that specific area of the plate. Or plane, whatever you want to call it, and then the salt water acts as a perfect conductor out to the ice, and then up into the firmament, into the atmosphere, conducting lightning, and that's explaining where all this power is. Like, we have this huge electromagnetic engine that God has put in front of us and has described in the Bible, and because we're all blinded by science from youth, from very young. Especially here in America, we just don't see it.
Right.
And so I had found that drawing yesterday or today, I don't know which, but man, I was really encouraged with that. I said, that would be just like God.
The oceans have such an amazing design to them. Two points that I just love. One, of course, is the 3% salt solution that's in the ocean, which makes it impossible for human beings to drink, but still allows life, right? And you think, okay, why is that important? It's important because you can't drink what you're sailing on or motoring over, and you think, okay, why? Because most of your early exploration missions, in fact, even some of your modern missions, it depends on how much fresh water you have on board. If you run out of fresh water, you're screwed. And how much, explorers would go way, way further. You reduce ship exploration by 95%. That's me ballparking it, because and I'm sure there's some horrible tales, which we'll never know of ships that just ran out of water and you didn't know what to do. The other part, which you just mentioned, which I love, again, the average person doesn't know, is that a 3% salt solution allows for a massive increase in the conduction of electricity.
Mm-hmm. And that's what this picture details, is the pole, the axis is acting as an anode. Yeah. The ice edge is acting as a cathode up to the firmament, which goes up to the generator, which is the moon and the sun above the anode. Nice. And so that electrolyte solution of salt water, 3%, I think you said, and I'm not sure what it is, but that's a fantastic design, and Tesla is saying this over 120 years ago. Yeah. Why? I've heard of Tesla before, but never really studied him very seriously, because he was mocked, but he's not one of the big name guys. And here we've got a roadster on its way to Mars, named after him.
Oh, don't really? You're gonna bring that up? Really? Oh, you had to go there.
I had to go there.
Yeah, Tesla. And when I get to Colorado Springs for the meetup in a couple of weeks, I may just have to use that as my top talking point, because I don't know when I'm going to get this out of my system. It was so blatantly horrible that I'm starting to think now that it was done deliberately to break the suspension of disbelief temporarily with people, meaning the default reaction to that stupid profile shot of the car and mannequin astronaut in front of the Earth was so... It seemed like such a fake image. You've heard me say this. where we nowadays, because of Photoshop's been around for 20-something years, the people get photoshopped images sent to them all the time, usually with cats or some weird space scene or whatever. We've all had weird space ones, moon things. And so when people got this in the mail, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, Tesla sent a rover to space. Everyone's first impression, they saw the picture, they go, haha, mildly funny, it's like, but I mean, a 12-year-old that's halfway good with paint could have made that image. It was that easy to make. And then everyone did the same thing. It's like, wait, that's on the news right now. That's actually supposedly happening right now.
And Elon, what did Elon say? He says it looks so fake it has to be real or something.
So yeah, I will say this one verbatim. It's real because it looks so fake. I've never heard that quote used before in my life. And what he meant was, the man should not be put in front of a freaking microphone ever. He every time he opens his mouth, he just says the most ridiculous things. But what he meant to say was that, it's surreal. That's the word he should have used. It's like, it looks surreal, doesn't it? No, it's like, it's real because it looks so fake. It's like, don't tell people that it looks so fake. Right. That's not what you want to tell people, because people are already thinking this in the back of their heads. Every conspiracy guy out there looked at this thing going, ooh, this is some bad stuff. I mean, it was, and I'll develop this theory as time goes on, but it was like they were allowing SpaceX to fake space on the cheap, meaning forget about the NASA stuff. Let's see what SpaceX can do on a budget, and it's like, okay, first test, we'll two inanimate objects, car and a mannequin, go, right? And it's like, and they put, and this is what they're showing, and we're going, ooh, boy, it's like,
I'm sure you've seen this, Mark, but when you look at the video carefully after the supposed separation from the primary booster, you can see when they're showing the Earth pass by the Tesla Roadster, right?
Yeah.
And you'll see the shadows, right?
Right.
But if those shadows in that, because it keeps showing it back and forth, it's like, okay, so this guy is cartwheeling through space. What is he doing exactly?
Right.
I mean, you would suppose that he would be trajected, and then he would be on you might have a camera in front, and you got the Earth behind as he boils away from the Earth.
Yeah.
But he's just spinning. I mean, is anybody else catching that? I mean,
I absolutely caught it. In fact, there were so many layers of badness to this that we were having a hard time even figuring out where to start. It's like, okay, order of importance alphabetically. Where do we go? But I will say this, they did do one thing very, very well, and that was they had one of the finest usages of misdirection I've ever seen, which was, and you'll know what I'm talking about here, which is they spent, the rocket goes up, right? And then the three boosters pop off, and two supposedly landed at Kennedy right next to each other, because that's what you would do. And I knew exactly why. It's like, okay, I get why you're going to land the two boosters next to each other, because otherwise it's going to confuse the audience. If you land one here and another one 5 miles away, remember, you got to think for the audience. This is filmmaking 101. And if you don't do that, people are going, okay, which booster am I looking at? Did that one just land? Is that a repeat of the one we just saw? You land them both in one frame. That way no one's confused, right? And then the third one supposedly goes off in the ocean and crashes, right? And then you can see the producer in the trailer going, okay, booster one, booster two, go to the raft, the drone boat raft thing. It's like, okay, kill that screen and car. And all of a sudden you saw this wonderful profile shot of the car in front of the Earth. What everybody missed was what you just said, the main rocket with that wonderful capsule that splits in half down the middle, releasing the car and should be tumbling back. That's your money shot right there is you remember there's three cameras on the car, one facing the driver, one facing the driver from the side, and one in the headrest facing forward. You should have had the one from the driver looking there. So then you have that wonderful split down the middle. You see the
from
white.
the interior. That's right.
Yep,
From the interior of the missile head or rocket head.
Yeah, you should have, and that was your shot, and it wasn't there. In fact, they went through all three of those camera angles, and you never saw the main Falcon rocket. You never saw it, and everyone, including me, just glossed over it. Everyone was picking apart everything else, and you forgot the big thing, which was, oh yeah, they never showed how the capsule got there. All you was like, okay, it pops off, and it's like, there's the Earth. It's like,
David Bowie music. Let's go.
David Bowie music. It's like, okay, where's that
David
plane?
Bowie music, right?
What?
It is David Bowie, right?
Yeah, David Bowie, Starman. And of course, the little film references, again, not to go off on a tear here, but I got to mention these couple of things. Science fiction references, like Don't Panic on the dash, where the nav screen is, that's straight from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Starman, that's David Bowie. The feed was literally called Starman, which can also be the movie Starman with Jeff Bridges. Oh my God. But the thing that really messed me up was the logos. And I know people are going, what do you mean the logos? I'm going, look, even if you didn't get corporate sponsorship, which you could have done so unbelievably easily, everybody would have wanted to get in on this, considering the camera coverage. SpaceX and Tesla logos were nowhere to be found. 3 cameras. That thing should have been a walking billboard for Tesla and SpaceX. Tesla's a public company, and they're hurting right now. They're having a really, really hard time. Go figure, electric cars for the rich. Who would think that they would have a hard time? But SpaceX is not a public company. Why aren't you promoting this thing? So anyway, anyway, the point is they're going to have a really, if social media is the one that is going to give them the consensus, now we can do it in real time. It's like people believe it. You can mine that data. Well, what are you going to do remember, because this was the first part of that moon mission he's talking about. Where he's going to send 2 tourists to the moon and back. We're not going to land, but anyway. Sorry. You see, shouldn't have brought it up.
Yeah, I don't. I wasn't even aware of I mean, I've heard things about SpaceX and that kind of thing before the shot, but it really was all kind of coming together here in the last few weeks. So, anyway, I did want to ask you a question before we take the next break. I was trying to I had found them and then I lost them. I've got to start organizing this stuff better, but in my folders, I had found the distance traveled along the edge of the Antarctic continent.
Right.
You have there's some guys from the 1800s, 1700s who were, they're captains. They got to document their voyages really well.
Right.
And I was hearing, if I remember right, like 63,000 mile voyages along that ice perimeter there.
That's what I had heard. That's what I had heard as well. And there are conflicting testimonies, as you know, because there's like a yacht race down there that supposedly goes around it, but yet when you look at their path, they're not going around it.
They're going around the Horn. That's not going around the continent as it started out.
I agree. I think the 61,000 mile reference you're speaking about is the Captain Cook. Is that the one? Where they were just traveling, going forever. I mean, 60,000 miles by sailboat.
Like a 2.5, 3 year journey.
Yeah, that's a long way.
There's a couple of them, not just one.
Right.
Yeah, I have to look it up during the break and see if I can find it again.
I believe it.
I
do believe it. I think Antarctica. In fact, somebody sent me a wonderful chart. Remind me, I'll send it to you after the show is over. Somebody sent me a bird migration chart. And they were showing how where birds migrate around the continents, and they put it on a Mercator map. And a friend of mine stretched it into a flat Earth map, and yeah, they do not cross any of those oceans. They except for the northern ones, the northern hemisphere oceans. The southern oceans are just like the aircraft. No one goes across those things.
Right.
It's all. And
yeah, I just sent an engineer friend of mine. I have to pray for him, but an engineer friend of mine who's also a pilot. And, he's a very dear brother, and he is very nice and cordial about rejecting the ideas. And I've only laid a few seeds on him, but right. I sent him, I think it was Flat Earth Clues 7, the long haul. Was that the clue?
Right, yep, 7.
Long haul video. I sent number 7 to him and said, what do you think about this? So, that's something I wanted to share real quick, too, is that when we're sharing these really what is controversial ideas with our family, our friends, our sphere of influence in our individual lives. We have to be careful not to do it going overboard with it, because you can really alienate people.
Yep.
And, people need time to think on their own and kind of reason it out for themselves. And especially, Christians can be really, really hard to work out these things with. Yeah. But, so the regular sinner can too. I understand that. People are people. We're made in the image of God, whether you believe it or not. And so there's a thought complex that has to be dealt with. And all those experiences and all those things come into play. And so I just want to encourage the audience to really think about that carefully as you share, not to overshare. Plant a seed, maybe water it later on, 3 months, and pray about it. Just pray that they would say, let me take a look and see what all this craziness is about.
I absolutely agree. In fact, it's funny you mentioned that. I wanted to bring this up in the beginning because you talked that you were into geocentrism, and I'm not sure if the pastor you had listened to had mentioned the movie. I think it came out a couple years ago now, called The Principle.
Yeah, we tried to watch it.
Okay. Well, here's an interesting thing. The producer of that movie contacted me just last week.
Wow.
Robert Sagenis, I think his name was.
Mm-hmm.
And he contacted me through a mutual friend of ours up in Canada, and I didn't know it was him. I didn't know it was his team that was contacting me, and then I saw in his email, and he goes, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm Robert," and he goes, "I don't know if you've seen what I do." I was like, "Oh, I know exactly the stuff you did," because he hated us, because our stuff came out. Flat Earth really started ramping up about the same time, shortly after that movie came out,
2014, I think.
Yeah, and he thought that we were doing, it was a psychological operation. It was being done deliberately against him, and we were, I and all these other people were agents, and we were subverting the principle of movie and geocentrism. And I tried to tell him, going, look, we're not an enemy of geocentrism at all. In fact, all we're saying is like, look, you're saying that Earth is the center of the universe. I totally got that. I'm just saying it's a really small universe. That's the only difference. And he's, you can imagine, because he's so steeped in space, that he has a hard time letting go. What you were mentioning about people is that when you bring it up to him, you got to be careful. And a rule that somebody told me is like, find out if they really, really believe in the American space program, the American moon missions. If they do, you might want to start with that and not bring up Flat Earth.
Right. Because there's a lot of really good evidence against all that nonsense that NASA has done.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The Apollo. It's amazing though, watching people. It's kind of like fingers on a cliff. They're reaching for it, and I've literally had people say, "Okay, fine, the Apollo program was a piece of crap, but you can't tell me that the ISS is fake." And it's like, okay, well, if you're going to go that far, and it's like, okay, fine, the ISS is fake, but satellites, those are totally real. It's like, why are you holding on? People don't want to let go. For some people, it's too much of a jump. It's too much of a reach, because I love sci-fi stuff. I was enamored with space for a long time. Space really does kind of cultivate the imagination. But it is only a backdrop. I tried to tell Robert. He goes, "Can I use this stuff in a article I'm writing?" I'm going, "Yeah, you use whatever you want." I told. You can imagine what he's going to do with it. And I said, "Look, it's just a stage. It's just it's just lights in the sky." I go, "Why is this so hard? I mean, you come from a film production background. How could this be, and if I get interviewed with people down the road, that if I'm in a television studio, that's the first time I'm going to tell them, going, look where we are right now. You're sitting in a studio. Why, just make it bigger. That's all you have to do." And then I'm hoping there's like, oh yeah, I see. It's like, why didn't you get that? Anyway.
I was so thankful for what's his name, Samuel Robotham. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, Robotham.
Yeah,
sure.
Yep, zetetic philosophy, zetetic science. What you and people haven't heard of this idea of zetetic philosophy and science, where I'm going to look at, record, observe what I can actually, whatever's provable to me here, right here, what I can see and observe. That's my science, and I don't try to add hypotheses and theories. I just look at it and say, okay, that's what I can prove, and that's all I'm going to believe right now. And I could postulate, but I'm not going to make it a doctrine until I know I can make it a doctrine.
Nice.
And so,
perfect timing, by the way, because the music's going to cue, and we got 3 minutes. When we come back, I got calls on the line. You want to take some?
Sure.
Cool. All right. We'll be back, guys.
Hi everyone, it's Chris Gio here, founder of
This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
We are TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
Major Kong. Major Kong. Primary target the ICBM complex at Laputa. Switch all receiver circuits to CRM discriminators.
What's cooking on the scrapboard? Nothing. Alright, tell you what you better do, old buddy. You better give Elmo and Charlie a flash and bump everything up to condition written. Stand by tomorrow on the base.
Major Kong.
Major Kong.
Hey, what about Major Kong?
Clear and plain and coming through fine.
What about
It's great to be fine.
What about Major
What's happened? You see the string in my leg, Scar.
What about Major
I never told you.
Hey, what about Major Kong?
Welcome back to Strange World Part 3 of 4. It is Subject Matter Expert Night. We have retired Navy Chief John McGlone. John, you still there?
yes, sir.
Cool. Hey, just for the trolls that are out there, in case they ever ask, you were on how many? Five different ships.
5. Yep.
Can you name not the names of the ships? I mean, if you want, you can. But can you name the types of ships?
Sure. The USS Simon Lake is a submarine tender.
Mm-hmm.
USS Briscoe is a destroyer out of Norfolk at the time that I was stationed there. And I'm sorry, let me go back to the subtender, was in Kings Bay, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then I was in Mayport on the an Adams-class destroyer, USS Sampson, DDG-10.
Cool.
And then I was on CG-70, which was a cruiser, USS Lake Erie. Some of those pictures I've given you feature those ships.
Nice.
And I was in the pre-commissioning unit there in Bath, Maine, where we built it, then sailed it around through the Panama Canal to Hawaii, where we were home ported, where I met my bride 21 years ago.
Aw, that's nice.
Isn't that nice? It's nice.
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
Anyway, and then my last ship was in New Jersey at the weapons station there.
Yeah.
And so that was USS Detroit.
Cool. Was there any ship you liked more than others, and if so, why?
Well, I suppose the Lake Erie was a really good ship because it was like brand new.
Had that new ship smell.
Yeah, that new ship smell.
Yeah.
But of course, problems go with new things. So, but it was interesting to build it and get it going and stuff. But one of my favorite ships was the last ship that I was on, was the ammunition oiler. Carried 1 million gallons of aviation fuel and diesel fuel marine and all kinds of bullets and missiles. And we were doing underway replenishments all the time for the fleet with the carrier and the different destroyers and cruisers. And it was just a really interesting ship. I mean, it was kind of a, people don't esteem it. They'd rather be on the big warships and that kind of thing. But those ships can't operate. Even the troops off of them can't operate without the bullets and beans. And so I really had a good time with that ship because we were able to take it into the shipyard in Philly and update it. The Navy was in a bad place. Their new supply ships weren't able to carry enough gear, enough bullets and beans and fuel, and so the old AOEs were trying to take up the slack, but there weren't enough of them. So instead of scrapping it, they said, well, let's refurbish it. And so we were able to go in there and tear out all the old stuff and put in new things, and at that time, we had put a new. Of course, they had really nice systems now, but at that time, it was just up and coming, where we were getting electronic datum, electronic charts.
Right.
And we're able to use computers. And we had 3 computer stations installed on the bridge, one for the captain, one for the officer of the deck, and then navigation officer, and then one for the chart table. And that thing would get us down to 9 meters of accuracy, and we could put the length of the ship in there and all that kind of stuff. And so with the GPS feeding it, and that's a whole other subject, GPS, the Global Positioning Satellite System, but with the GPS feeding it, we were able to basically navigate in and out of port without us there. So unless, of course, we lost power, and then, of course, without power, you have a problem. But so, yeah, that was I think, probably my most enjoyable tour is my last tour on that ship.
Nice. That's cool. And of course we haven't seen this in modern times, but I would imagine a ship packed with ammunition and jet fuel would not do well after, like, say...
we did. We did a lot of fire drills.
I can imagine. Yeah, not just fire drills, but it's like, well, you know what? If a missile hits us or a torpedo, you're probably not going to have to worry about much because it's good.
Big fireball.
Yeah. So you guys were doing a lot of the big cannon ammunition as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Oh, yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
But those are divided up still. You got the powder bags or whatever you call them, and then
no, they don't use that anymore.
Oh, they don't use those anymore.
Oh no, they don't use those powder bags anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we never resupplied any battleships on the tours that I did with the Detroit. Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right.
So,
hey, did you want to comment before we take any calls? Did you want to and thank you guys for hanging on the line, Houston, Beverly Hills, and New York. Did you want to comment on the GPS system? Well,
no, but I did want to talk about something else if I could.
Sure.
Real quick, we talked about the XY axis or graph on laying the one axis along the horizon, and then realizing as the ship curves over the horizon as you see it, you should see the same curve along the other axis along the horizon. Well, when you do that curvature formula, that
8 inches per mile squared.
Say again?
8 inches per mile squared.
Yes, 8 inches per mile squared. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of the guy's name, Brian Mullins.
Oh yeah, Brian Mullins curvature formula.
The curvature formula. And what I did was when this is really sticking in my craw, I said, well, what if I was really high? What if I was up in a plane at 36,000 feet? Right? And so just maybe your sister might listen to this show and she might think about this. Okay, if I'm in a plane at 36,000 feet, I should see a long way. Well, you can go to any online horizon distance calculator, and at 36,000 feet, you can see 232.6 miles in one direction. Okay, so you got that thought. So imagine I'm a pilot in the cockpit of this plane, and I look to my left over my port wing, right? And I see 232.6 miles that way. I look to my right off my starboard wing, and I can see a total of 465.2 miles from that height.
Right.
Okay. So again, now we're no longer at sea level. Now we're up here. Now let's do that XY thing again. Okay. So we're going to run one reference along the horizon, one reference this way, and it disappears into that vanishing point we talked about before.
Right.
Right. That edge, it disappears to that edge. Mm-hmm. And then we see the horizon laid out flat in front of us. Now, why is that important? Because at that height, here's the numbers that you come up with. So you take 465 squared times 465 times 8 over 12 will give you a total of rise and decline of 144,150 feet.
Okay.
Okay, so keeping that in mind, at 36,000 feet is what we're flying at. If we look over the port wing, we should see from that horizon, we should see it rise up an amazing 72,075 feet to what we're looking at in front of us. And then it should decline the same amount to the starboard wing. But that's not even close to what we see, is it?
I know. No, it's not.
I think that's a really fantastic way for a layperson. I'm no big smart guy, but that as a layperson, that I go, wow, that if that curvature formula is true, and we know that it is because it's math, and it's their own thing defeats itself.
You're absolutely right, and and I do agree with you, where the average layperson should be able to understand it. Unfortunately, I learned early on that is not the case. Seriously, I'm not going to say, I try not to insult the general population, and people say, oh, they've been so dumbed down. I try to say, no, they're more focused on other things. They're just fluff. Yeah. But I've seen it too many times, and honestly, I was one of them. I forgot most of the algebra, because that's what we're talking about is algebra in high school. Forget about geometry or trig. When you tell somebody, I've seen it so many times, you go up to them and you say, yeah, 8 inches per mile squared, right? The second you say squared, all of a sudden their eyes start glazing over. They start having flashbacks to junior high or freshman year in high school. It's like, holy crap, this is that algebra crap that I barely made it through only because I cheated off the guy next to me. They don't have a clue. And I say, no, it's like 8 inches per mile, like sort of like 32 feet per second, falling off something. And they don't get it. And it's like, you really have to. So what you're saying, absolutely great. Perfect. I get it only because I've been in this so long. Your average person on the street, they just can't understand the concept, which is like, look, you're looking over the other side of the hill. You're looking over the other side of the hill. You shouldn't be able to see it, or side to side. The bend should be there. Or as the missile instructor guy said, look, we're targeting ships at 50 miles. Ship to ship with a beam radar, or two degree beam radar. And he goes, there's no way we should be able to hit those ships. But we do what we do, and it's like, well, people just shrug their shoulders, like, well, we're hitting it, fire. It's like that's all you think about. So anyway, hey, let's do this. Let's have some fun. We got 15 or so minutes. Let's grab some calls. Some of these people have been on for a while. Let's see who picks up. Let's grab. Guys are listening out there. Let's grab 713 first. It looks like it's out of Houston. Here we go. 713, you're on with Strange World and a Navy Navigator. Are you on?
Yes, thank you so much for taking my call.
Hey, no worries. What can we do for you?
Hey, well, I'm a little nervous.
You don't have to be nervous. It's just, it's you and me and the Navy guy and maybe 2 or 3 million people. Don't worry.
Navy guy's nervous too.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, thank you so much. Listen, I was looking at my Google history just to check, and I've been examining this, I guess, since about February 15th. So I'm, what is that, a week into it.
You're only a week into this, and you're calling my show? Holy smokes. Okay.
I mean, I hope that's all right.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. What do you got?
Terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so I've really been enjoying it. I wish I had a specific question, although you did set up my comment, and I wanted to hear your thoughts about it. I've been thinking about it lately. I was great in math and took calculus in high school and so forth, so I didn't have a problem with 8 inches, times miles squared. But it seems to me that the really advanced math, Einstein's relativity, all of that kind of stuff, and I really enjoy watching stuff on string theory and all that. It seems to me that advanced math has become the Latin, and those people who can chalk out these long formulas have become the high priest.
Yes.
Relative to the Dark Ages.
Yep.
And I love that our guest is, or your guest is, we're able to discuss things out of the Bible. We were able to do that because of Martin Luther, who, took that Septuagint Latin Bible that, no one, well, you can't, if you have a question, you can't even talk to a priest about the scriptures because it's in a language you don't understand.
Right.
And so it seems to me that where I find the miles squared times 8 inches divided by 12, that's pretty straightforward for me. I understand it's not for everybody. I get that.
Right.
But it seems to me that when I'm looking on the boards or I'm watching stuff, I'm really looking forward to the time when we get some people who are very confident in high math. I really don't want to go back to calculus and differentiation and integration and start working through all that stuff and trying to master that material. So I'm looking forward to that. I had two other quick things.
Sure.
I think I can get them under 30 seconds.
Okay, go.
I noticed there's some questions about the flat Earth maps. Some of the guys that I've watched that are flat earthers are we're not yet satisfied with the standard maps. One gentleman showed his, and his idea was just that the sun progresses from east to west, and then as soon as it hits that west point, it just slaps right back over to the east. I didn't have a problem with that. That works fine with quantum mechanics. It doesn't have to travel the intervening space. It just goes from one state to the next. That seemed fine to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're following me, if that makes sense.
No, I do. Yep.
Okay, good. And then it seemed to me on the theatrical front and the Photoshop front, I've watched a lot of videos about, these cosmos kinds of things, and all their equipment seems to show them are these red shift distances.
Right.
None of their equipment that they're looking at all these stars and all this universe with, none of it shows, like you said once, I believe, on one of your videos or one of your podcasts that I get through YouTube, Mark, about nothing on film.
Right.
And so it seems to me that this all this advanced science, this advanced math, is what they're calling it science. It's just advanced math. It's all theoretical.
Right.
They've not been out there. They've not seen it. They've not been out there. Just as like the evolutionary model, it's just a model. No one's been there at the beginning.
Yep.
And I had two questions. I know you got a call.
That's okay. Go ahead. What you got?
The thing I'm really interested in is I would like to see. I'm pretty much on board. I've been telling my friends just, hey, what's been really fun for me lately? I've been watching all this stuff on the flat Earth, and it's just amazing the questions that they have, and that's the way I've been approaching
I bet.
But I'd be interested in seeing and maybe it's out there. Like I said, I've been on this for a week, but debunking the debunkers.
Yeah.
You see the flat Earth community will raise something, and then these other people come with a debunk, but there's not, like in a good debate, you have a debate, and then one side makes their opening statement, and the next side makes their opening statement, and then you have some rebuttals.
Right.
And I'd like to see that. I don't know if that's possible. And then the last thing about this curvature of the Earth, and this one, and I think I'm done. I thank you. You're so patient.
That's all right. Go. What you got?
All these things.
That's right.
On the curvature of the Earth, it's amazing to me that the sun travels 93 million miles.
Right.
And then it hits this 3959 radius.
Yeah.
And where it happens to hit that 3959 radius makes a huge difference between whether it's hot or cold.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't get that. And that's where I feel like we really need some advanced math guys, because how do you go back at somebody and say, explain to me how come it's cold in the North Pole?
Right.
I don't get how it's cold in the North Pole and hot at the equator. That's only 0.0004 something. That's less than.
You're absolutely right. There's a tiny, tiny difference in percentage. And let me answer this. And unfortunately, I got to go on to another call. I can generalize a lot of what you're saying here with a Nikola Tesla quote, if you haven't already heard it, which is, and I'm going to probably butcher part of it here, which is he said that science has gotten to a point where they're just stacking equations on top of equations on top of equations, not ever revisiting the foundation, to where you get up so high with foundations that it's just meaningless. It's just gibberish, because nobody's going back to the core and nobody's rechecking anything. Everybody just says, well, the second floor looks good. Let's go on to the third floor. Well, the third floor looks good. Nobody revisits the lower floors. And you're right. They postulate and they postulate. They're not out there. They're just taking a wild stab, which is why I made that point in the clues where I said, don't tell me what the core of the Earth looks like, which is supposedly 4,000 miles down, when you've only drilled down 8 miles. You can't.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mark. Has the caller watched your 12 clues?
Oh, I would hope so. Did you actually? I know you only been in it 5. Well, if you've only been in it in 5 days, have you actually watched the Flat Earth clues that I made?
I didn't feel like I needed to.
Holy smokes! What are you doing, man?
I've enjoyed the subject matter experts. I've listened to all these subject matter. I've listened to I'd say 30 hours. I've listened to it all day.
All right. Well, do this, man. Do this.
But I was. Oh, go ahead, sir.
Dude, I know I gotta send you off. Unfortunately, I've already got my people yelling at me. Go ahead and go, if you've been to my channel, go to Flat Earth Clues and watch it. It's really easy. It'll probably put you to sleep. Don't listen to me with your headphone in the ears. The subliminal stuff that could get really creepy. But listen to the clues and watch. And if you want to have some fun, go into something called the Flat Earth Shortlist for New People. It's not my stuff. It's a collection of all the best intro stuff that's out there. And we'll go from there. But anyway, I got to let you go. Thank you for all your questions and comments. First time you did great. You didn't sound nervous at all.
Thank you so much.
Hey, have a good one. I'll see you. All right, let's jump right over to, boy, calls are jumping around. I do not know why. Let's go to Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland, Ohio, 216. You are on with Strange World. What's going on? Cleveland. Oh, don't do the rookie mistake and have me unmute. Because rookie mistakes, you hate to see it.
Hello?
Is this Cleveland?
Oh, it's John.
Oh, John, you're messing with me? Seriously? Wow, that's awesome. That's really great. All right, we're going to put Cleveland back on mute. Sorry if wherever you are, you're in the bathroom or eating pizza or something. Let's pick up Middletown, New York.
Ohio.
No, New York.
Okay.
New York, are you there?
Hey, yes, I'm here. I didn't want to pull a rookie mistake.
Good, because you had me on mute?
Yeah, of course.
Nice. What's
what's
going on?
I don't want to be rude in case you accidentally unmute me.
You excited?
How's it going?
How's
it going, John?
Happening.
Good, man. How are you?
Sorry, I'm talking over you. Go ahead.
Sorry. I just excited. This guy's great, man. I love listening to him. Good stuff. I was that curvature XY axis with the horizon and the rising 70-something thousand feet. That's the best way to put it, I think, when the argument from the plane comes up.
Right.
That was just perfect. I love how you put it.
Can I make a plug, Mark?
Sure.
Okay. On our website, JesusPreacher.com, you can go to a link called Confronting Conspiracies, and on that link has the blog post I did with laying all that stuff out. So you can pull it off.
Oh, with all the math and numbers?
Yeah, with all the math and try, as a source of memory tool or something.
Excellent.
That is what convinced me from geocentricity to, putting all that together and figuring, that it's not that hard. But like Mark was saying earlier, when you start talking about formulas, people's eyes, they glaze over and stuff. So, but yeah. It's a really dramatic number. I mean, 70,000 plus feet.
Yeah.
That's a huge hill.
Wow. Hey, Mark, you never.
I think that's the perfect thing.
Mark, you never commented on the Brooklyn, New York meetup.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it. I'm pissed. It's a Sunday.
Dude, are you kidding?
I thought it was Saturday. It's Sunday night. I know. I'm having issues. I'm trying to jumble things and reschedule, and it's a pain in the neck having a life.
These guys are pretty excited, so I'm curious to see. And
I want to go.
Apparently, they said if this one goes well, they're going to fly me out for the next one.
Nice. I don't know who they are. I don't
know. Some sort of, they had thick Russian accents.
But I still want to go.
Sound like organized crime.
Yeah, no, I want to go. I was worried it'd be like an FBI sweep. All right, Flat Earthers, let's go.
Into the paddy wagon.
All right.
Yep, definitely.
Nice. Well, we got.
Hey, I have a quote for your guest.
Okay,
and then I'll get off the line.
No, you got 2 minutes. What do you got?
Right. All right. He has inscribed a circle on the surface of the waters at the boundary of light and darkness. Job 26:10.
Oh, very nice.
Good one.
I've not really heard much chapter and verse from you, and I have a follow-up.
No.
From the Peanut Gallery. Ready?
Go for it.
The whole educational and professional training system is a very elaborate filter, which just weeds out people who are too independent and who think for themselves and who don't know how to be submissive and so on, because they're dysfunctional to the institutions. And that's Noam Chomsky. It's not chapter and verse.
True.
I don't get.
You are dysfunctional to the system.
Are you?
That's good. That's a good one. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for taking my call.
Happy
Great
to do
show. If you could go a little more back into the XY axis a little bit more, because I missed part of it. My connection crapped out. But that was
seriously.
Awesome.
Well, you know,
I'm going to go get that information.
You can always listen to it later, eh?
Yeah, I was about to say I'm putting this thing up like tonight.
Yeah, I know. That's true. All right. I'll do that. I'm sorry.
Hey, can you repeat that last part?
Yeah, I'll do it.
It's a live show. We don't really repeat things.
Gotcha. We don't have time for mistakes. That's my fault. Rookie mistake. Hate to see it.
Oh no. That's not a mistake, but it's a good question. Good one, man.
Alrighty. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Have a good one, John.
You too, bro.
All right. We are going into our last break. And when we come back, it'll be your last chance to call. And holy smokes, we got a lot of calls out there. So we will try to pick them up as fast as we can when we come back. All right. Where's the music? Do you hear any music?
No, sir.
There we go. There's music. All right. 3 minutes. Coming right back.
Check wallet for his name. His face is in the muck. I think his zipper's stuck.
No hate, no hype, no fear. We are TFR, your protection from deception.
Welcome back to Strange World, part 4 of 4. It is subject matter expert night. And we have a United States Navy Navigator with us. And, oh yeah, by the way, before I bring in, that was Joe Jackson stepping out from his album, Night and Day. That's me being a disc jockey for like 2 seconds. I have to do that like every time. I don't know why I had to do it. And people call me out if I don't say it. I've been caught like once or twice or a few times. You know, I get distracted. Anyway, we're taking calls. I haven't even given out the call. This is how you know the show is going well. I have not given out the number, and there's still calls.
Hey, can I make a quick point before we take another call?
Sure. What do you got?
Okay, so I just kind of figured this out today, but of course I had information while I was in the Navy about the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn and the equator based on the globular model. But just to give you a little background, each degree of latitude is about 60 nautical miles or 69 statute miles, okay? Mm-hmm. And the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn are both at 23.5 degrees north and south, respectively, okay?
Okay.
So why is that important? It's important because the sun moves up and down. The summer solstice is at the Tropic of Cancer in the northern latitude. where it's at its highest, right, according to apparent views that we're seeing here. Mm-hmm. And then it travels down to equinox at the equator, and it keeps going down to the southern hemisphere, the Tropic of Capricorn. Now, here's why it's exciting. It's exciting because when you get down to the Tropic of Capricorn in the winter solstice, you no longer have light up at the Arctic Circle. The Arctic Circle marks the edge of sunlight. Okay, so why that's important is because that's one direction, and how far is that from that zenith point of the sun above the Tropic of Capricorn and the edge of the sun, because it's no longer rising in the Arctic Circle. You follow?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so at there, we have approximately 1,615 miles, statute miles, of sunlight visible in one direction from that sun towards the north, towards the Arctic Circle, okay? And it ends. Okay, what does that mean? Well, what that means is one side of the light path of the sun as it moves around the plate is the path would be 3,230 statute miles of visible sunlight as it moves around. The caller before was asking about how's it moving around. Well, it's in a circuit. And the Bible says the sun and the moon are in circuits in the heavens. And so it's moving in this circuit, whatever that works out to be.
Right.
But we know that the miles of visible sunlight path would be 3,230 miles.
Okay.
Interesting, huh?
That is interesting.
Yeah.
It's good. You're actually more of a three-dimensional thinker than you give yourself credit.
Not that smart. Okay.
That's all right.
Who's the next caller?
Oh, next caller. Yeah, we won't dwell. I am smart, SMRT. Number is 213-233-3998. That is 213-233-3998 or 720-897-6111. The old number works just as well. And if you're in the UK, you're probably asleep, but I'll give out that number anyway. It's 44203-393-2871. All right, let's pick up, looks like California. 510 area code. 510, you're on with Strange World right now, and I got a funny feeling I know who this is.
You gotta believe it, Pittsburgh. Let's go.
Pittsburgh, California, the impossible city. What's happening, man?
What's going on? Oh, man, as always, man, enjoying the show. And I guess you can say it's a double pleasure when you have the experts come on and they share their analysis and their research and their observations. I really, really appreciate, those episodes. And as I stated last week, I'll state again, I thank you, sir, for your contributions that you have made to the arguments to boast, our claims and so on and so forth. And the thing I really, really just want to touch on, I mean, you got callers now who ain't been in this thing long, and they're calling,
Yeah.
Versus, I mean, it's 2018. This topic, we shouldn't even be talking about this. This shouldn't even be relevant.
Nope.
No way, shape, or form that this should have any relevancy in 2018. So for those closet individuals who are on the fence and those who don't believe, because we know they listen, we know this now, who are listening, just put all the other preconceived notions away and just think about it. It's 2018. Why in the world would people be regressing in that? Now, I understand that, it's a lot of things going on in the world and people sleeping. I get all of that. But to regress in something that we have supposedly believed since forever long it's been taught, why we would be regressing like that? Yeah. And when you talk about all walks, whether you're coming from a Christian, whether you're coming from an atheist, and obviously once you get in this, that atheist thing start to get a little bit tough, whether they believe in aliens, whatever. You got all walks of life, crazy, weird, whatever. When they start to look at this, they start to question it, and that has a whole lot to it. And then, like a lot of people say, the fact that people get so upset and want to fight you over it. You really have to take those things in consideration.
Yeah, can I address something you just said, brother? Yes, sir. I have a friend of mine. We just baptized him about a month and a half ago from Ohio, and he came to Flat Earth before he came to Christ. He was an atheist, but he was examining this information and coming to the reality of geocentricity and flat Earth and all these things which were destroying his atheistic arguments. And then after that, then he came to Christ. That's praise the Lord. That's great.
That is.
Wow.
So I appreciate all the believers out there in this cosmos that we're looking at. But I would encourage all of you that aren't trusting Christ as your Lord and Savior now to really examine that, because he claimed that he was the truth and the way and the life. And if the world and the worldlings have been lying to you, to all of us, about all these things, the devil's in charge. The Bible says that the prince of this air is ruling in this place, and so he's influencing people of power to do that things which are evil, to all these cover-ups, all these secret things that God wants to expose. And one day the Bible says he's going to come out of the sky with his mighty angels in flaming fire, taking vengeance on those who know not God and do not obey the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ. These shall be punished with everlasting destruction from the presence of the Lord and from the glory of his power. That one verse right there, and that's in 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 6. In that one verse, that should put the fear of God in any person. But you know what? 100 years it hadn't been preached in these churches, and that's part of the problem.
It's good. And let me throw in what my 2 cents real quick, which was something that Rob Skiba said, which I didn't cover in the clues. I covered the Tower of Babel, and I don't remember the chapter and verse where in the second coming everybody gets to see him at once. It's like, and Rob's going, how does that work on a globe? And I actually had a caller come in and say, well, they'll be able to see him because of cell phones. If they're on the other side of the globe, I'm going, that doesn't count.
God doesn't need that.
It's like, really? That you're gonna use cell phones? You're gonna mix that in? Then they shall see him because of thy cell phone? No, it's not gonna happen. Anyway,
well, I'm not going to take up too much time. I'm just going to put my shout outs and a comment on the back end. Shout out to my big brother Mark. I love that dude like nobody's business over in New York. To hear my big bro over there calling in with a quote, with a biblical reference point, that speaks for itself. With that being said, right there, and he know how I feel about him. Yep. To Candy, I don't want to leave nobody out. I haven't talked to Karen B in a while. I love you. And special shout out to Kathy Dunson, aka TT Kathy. We're starting to be able to talk a little bit more now, and I just really appreciate her spirit and the person that she is. And I'm going to end my call with this. For the Most High, God is my rock, and he's my shield, and he's my protector. And in him, I should fear no one. So with that being said, let's keep it flat. Once again, I'm enjoying the show. And we're going to keep on spreading this truth and let the chips fall as they may.
All right, man.
Take care. God
All right.
bless.
Have a good one.
God bless you.
I'll see you. By the way. Oh, and I see Karen in chat. Just, he made a shout out to Karen, and he's already gone. I don't have to mute him. Karen, look, if you want to roll with me, you better break out some 7.62 NATO. That 5.56 crap is just not going to cut it. All right. Sorry. People, you can go after the AR-15 all you want. I don't care. It's like 5.56. I hate it. I've hated it ever since it was introduced. I was not in Vietnam. I'm just saying. Okay, let's go to Illinois, 708 area code. 708, we got time for a few more callers. Are you there? Illinois, oh boy. Hello? Hey, you're on with Strange World, live, you, me, Navy guy, about, 10 million people at least. So you better.
Yeah, how you doing? I had called in last week. My name is John Smith, calling from Chicago, Illinois.
Hey, what's going on?
I'm doing pretty good. I had just seen a video they had put out. A guy named Elon Musk. He's so-called supposedly put his car inside of space.
Oh my God!
And when I had commented on the video with a guy, we was talking about these things. He's saying that the United States has over 6,500 satellites in space. Well, I said, okay, well, if that's the case, when this guy supposedly put this car into outer space, how is it possible if the Earth is supposed to be spinning at how many miles they say it is? How is it possible for them to have take that single snapshot wouldn't that picture of the Earth come out blurry? And how is it possible for that car to come out, clear as it came out? I said, no, that's not no way near possible.
Absolutely right. Law of photography, and that is everything can't be in focus. Not if they're at multiple distances. You're absolutely right. That, and of course, the thousands and thousands of satellites, and that's polished aluminum, folks. And that's really, really reflective, which means you should see these little glimmers and little flashes, like you can see planes. I mean, planes at 5-10 miles up, they, when, the ones with not much paint on them, they're very, very bright. And we're talking looking through atmosphere, down there. I'm sorry, down on Earth, up there, circling the globe, supposedly, you should be able to see satellites from a long, long way away. So no, there wasn't a single mention of anyone seeing anything. And by the way, not to go off on a tear here, because I'm trying to do something different, because I already went on a rant with John for a while on this, which is the ISS turned off. The International Space Station, if you believe that, turned off their feed. They went blue screen for the entire Tesla launch. It's the entire process, and they did that deliberately, so that way they had an excuse. It's like, well, we had no idea our cameras were off. That way you couldn't say, well, didn't the ISS see everything that was happening? Don't you have any footage? Nope, I got nothing.
Why wouldn't they want it? That's really, it begs the question, why wouldn't they want that dramatic shot from outer space or the upper atmosphere?
You're going to go down that road? Okay.
No, I don't need to.
No, I know. Let me throw this in. This is for the caller. I gotta, there's so many things about SpaceX. It's a conflict of interest. Where did SpaceX take off and land from? Kennedy. That's a government facility. You're going, well, the United States government helped him out. It's like, why would they be helping him at all? It's a complete competition. You got to remember that NASA is awarded based on, it's a government contract of $20 billion a year. You don't want SpaceX showing them up, because the next thing you know, and it sounds deliberate to me, all of a sudden, next thing you know, you've got congressional hearings going, well, maybe we should give some of these funds to SpaceX. Instead of $20 billion a year, we'll give you $15 billion a year. NASA wants no part of that. And the first rule of government spending is spend your budget and destroy the competition. Helping SpaceX? It's like, oh yeah, you could use our launch pads. What?
Yeah, I might be mistaken, Mark, but I thought he did get some grants from the government.
He did, but most of okay, he got them.
I'm sure it's nothing compared to NASA.
Well, he did get upwards of $5 billion, but it was spread out over multiple states.
$5 billion.
$5 billion. Yeah. It was a combination of the solar panel company that he does and the green, because he's doing Tesla. He got a huge government thing for you doing Tesla cars, even though it's a public company and it's going under, and this other crap. But yeah, I'm sorry, using the Kennedy Center, because NASA's nice guys? Come on. It's a bunch of crap. You would never want, especially since he says, oh yeah, I can use rockets to do it on the cheap. It only cost me $80 million a launch. They're doing it deliberately so that they can use SpaceX as the fall guy. Right. Yeah. That's and SpaceX apparently wanted to distance themselves as well, because they wouldn't even show their own logos on that big hype machine that they did, which was the car in space. I'm sorry, caller. I didn't even really give you a chance to talk. Was there anything else?
I'm learning. One more thing. Had you ever heard of there's a guy by the name of William Warren, and he had wrote a book called Paradise Found. Humankind Came from the North. He wrote that book back in the late 1800s. And in that book, he found scientific evidence that all human races of creed and kind came from the North Pole. They all say the same damn thing. We all come from the North Pole. They know what's there, and there's no denying it. And then one more thing, it's been scientifically proven that the oldest civilization that's been here the longest are the Pygmy people, and I found out that through Josephus, Jewish historian writer, during that time frame, he witnessed what Christ looked like, because in today's modern day society, they have him as a white man, but Josephus lived and he's seen what he looked like. And when I was doing the adding this stuff up, I said, that makes a lot of sense. If they're saying like, okay, well, we know that Santa Claus is not real, it's not real, and he says he has these L's. Where the hell where are you talking about these L's? Where these L's coming from? He's talking about the pygmy people. So Josephus says that when he seen Jesus Christ, he said that Jesus Christ was 3 cubits tall. That's damn near a pygmy. He was 3 cubits tall, dark skinned. He had a panaculus long face, and he had curly braidy hair. So
if you had told me that 3 years ago, I would have said get out the front door. But since Flat Earth, which kind of leads into what John was saying, that the guy went to Flat Earth first. Now that the Flat Earth has opened my mind to pretty much anything, it's like, you know what? I'm not going to shoot you down. I may disagree with you, but it's not bad. And by the way, the North Pole thing, again, wouldn't surprise me because it kind of dovetails into the whole Richard Byrd Journey to the Center of the Earth 1926 expedition. So interesting. So anyway, thank you very much.
So if you want, if you want the reference for that book, it's called the Messiah Jesus and John the Baptist, and they give you Christ. His mother was a pygmy. Pygmy people, small people.
So I've heard.
They're small. They ain't giants, that's for sure.
They ain't big.
You believe in giants, right? You believe the giants in the Bible, don't you?
Yeah, the Nephilim, those tall,
Yeah,
like when I look at the basketball players, like look how tall these dudes are. They're near 7, 8 feet tall.
Shorties.
Okay,
they're shorties.
All right, man. I gotta let you go. I gotta pick up some more calls, but thank you so much for calling in. Okay.
All right.
Okay,
no problem.
All right. Before I pick up this next call, I you know what? I'm not going to go off on the Goliath thing because that's a whole other thing for another time. We just don't have the time. I think that the whole David and Goliath story, I think David cheated. I don't think it was just a rock. I think he had something else. But I don't want to really get into it too much. Slingshot's one thing, but Goliath was big. Let's go to 612 area code. I think this is up in Minnesota, up there, near the Iron Range.
Cool beans.
Yeah, Yoder, hey, Minnesota.
Hey.
Hey, Mark, Wesley States, Flat Earth News. Wait for it. Go.
Wes from Flat Earth.
That was a terrible sigh. I need to copy the sigh that Skype does. That's a much better sigh. Anyhow, how are you doing? And hello to the expert,
John.
Hey,
John.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it John or Josh?
John.
I'm doing good. It is John. Okay. Great,
Wes from Flat Earth News is actually podcasting from the cafeteria of the local penitentiary. Pretty sure.
Actually, guess what? I am now a full-time resident.
Right on. Good for you. You got to have goals.
Yeah, you got it. So anyhow, I'm in an area where nobody is, so that's the only reason why I hung on the phone as long as I did. Normally I'd be working, doing something else. Right. But anywho, the Elon Musk quote that he threw out.
Right.
And you had said you've never heard anybody else. Well, you know what? Somebody has come close, and that was Neil deGrasse Tyson saying science is always right, whether you believe it or not. Now, I know that one is arrogant and one is just backwards.
Yeah, thank you by the way, for touching on that sore subject. Yeah.
Can I address that? Can I address that issue, Mark?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the word science, for all the listeners out, the word science means knowledge. And so we all should be seeking knowledge. And the Bible says that God will give us a knowledge, give us a better knowledge, not worldly wisdom, but godly wisdom. We trust what he says and believe what he says and then obey what he says, and God will be pleased with that.
Nice. It's good. And and as far as if Neil deGrasse Tyson ever utters those words in my presence, I will immediately throw at him William Kelvin, the father of thermodynamics, who also said that airplanes were impossible, and he had no faith at all in the Aeronautical Society. When I think it was 3 years later, we were putting them in the air. And it's like, and even then, the scientists were still dragging their feet. I think it was Popular Mechanics in 1910. I mean, this is after we were already in the air. They're saying, there's no future in aircraft. Nope, never going to happen. Killing me. Science is right.
Yeah, they're
fine.
probably, science is still doing that, though. You know.
I know.
You're just not hearing about it.
They just mix everything.
Yeah,
it's like, fine, you want to tell me the boiling temperature of water at sea level? Fine, I get it. I can test that. The other stuff you're talking about? No. No, you can't just put your stamp on it and say it's absolutely scientific fact. No, you've made a lot of mistakes in your time. That's why I declared my war on science. Plain and simple. I'm just going to take my fight to him and say, look, I don't care what side panel you have put me against. Put me 1 on 5, 1 on 10. I do not care. Line me up. At this point, like what Nathaniel was saying earlier. It's like, why in 2018 are we talking about this? Because you can only hide the truth for so long. And then eventually, like a big beam of light, it's going to show itself.
There was a really good...
You can't,
if I encourage the caller...
hang on.
You can't say that they're eventually going to screw up, because we've been seeing their screw-ups for 60 years.
Well, I would say even longer than that. I mean, if you go back to Tesla is really an important source for me. I'm finding he's got a lot of really good information. If you go back to Tesla, and he had like over 200 patents, you'll find some things that he was coming against the science so-called community, the scientific community, and relativism. He believed in the ether, AETHER, if I remember correctly. And that ether is something that radio waves, light waves, sound waves has to travel through. In a vacuum, sound doesn't move.
Right.
Does it? Things, those sine waves that are all around us, the frequencies of our universe as we know it, must have something to travel through. And that's why the whole Einstein's relative theory is trashed by Tesla's work. And he was trashed at the end of his life and end of his career. He was trashed out by so many people, and he's really someone we can go back to refer for some really good information.
Agreed.
Agreed.
And let me throw in Peanut Gallery wanted to throw in this quote for you, Wes. Science is right. Scientists are wrong. That's from Peanut Gallery.
Amen.
So.
And I was just checking on that last caller's statement about, can I go on a tangent for a second, Mark?
Oh, yeah. You got about 60 seconds to do it, though.
Okay, 60 seconds. So the last caller talked about Josephus seeing Jesus and he was black. Problem, and I'm sorry, caller, I had to check this out. Josephus was born in 37 AD. Jesus died in 33 AD, 34 AD. So he could not have seen him. And if he did see him, he's probably too young to remember him. So whoever that book was, I'm not sure it's a good, reliable source. You want to test all things, check all things. Don't just believe things you've heard.
Yep. Hey, Wes, say something clever before you go.
Okay, really quick. I could be your next expert of nothingness. I think it would be a great show. I'll talk about nothing. Okay, all right. That's it.
That's actually really good, considering I put you on the spot there. Thanks, Sven.
Yeah, all right. Have a good one.
Okay,
and nice
bye-bye.
meeting you, John.
Nice to meet you, too.
Bye.
All right, so we're coming up at the end of the show, so go ahead and plug your website before we head out of here. We got 1 minute from now before the music goes.
Well, the show went really quick. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity. Our website is JesusPreacher.com, and it's mostly Christian stuff, but the stuff on conspiracies and this flat earth geocentricity, the limited writing that I've done and other writings that I've referred to in this broadcast are on that website under a link called Confronting Conspiracies. So
wonderful. Perfect. That's great. And thank you for all the people that called in. I know we didn't get to any emails, but it's not going to break anybody's heart. Thank you especially to John from the United States Navy for coming in and being our subject matter expert this evening. And who knows what will happen next week. We'll be here, same flat time, same flat channel. And as we're rolling to the music, John, don't hang up. Because we'll let the station thing play out, and then we'll figure out what's going to happen after that, okay?
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Mark.
Hey, my pleasure. Music. There we go.